How's it going, guys? Fent CK here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be making a video about myself and about some of my history and things that I have gone through in the last 6 or so years. So, basically, to begin, my channel name, Fent, comes from my long time on and off addiction to fentanyl and other opioid compounds. So, when I was 16, I'm 23 now. When I was 16, I tried heroin for the first time. And simultaneously, I also lost my virginity. And so, both of those things kind of like intertwined in my head, and I immediately just fell in love with the drug and the feeling that it gave me. So that's basically where all this started. I did not start like most people where, oh, like I got my wisdom teeth pulled and was prescribed, like Oxy 5s and ended up realizing you could get fucked up off them or whatever. The usual. My story is a little bit different. Who the fuck starts with heroin? A stupid person. Somebody like me. Somebody who did it to impress a girl because she was doing it and she offered. I don't know. Not a very good reason, but either way, I wasn't necessarily like hooked on shit immediately though. It it took a good couple of months of me trying it, doing it with her, and eventually finding my own ways of getting it myself. That's when it more or less became kind of a problem. So, fast forward another couple of months. This all started in about March of 2017, September 22nd of 2017. This is a story that I will probably go more in depth on in another video. Um, but basically, long story short, I ended up overdosing and going to rehab. I was on like 5 different drugs at this point, and my body just said, fuck you, I can't do this. And my heart stopped. Fortunately, a couple of my friends were with me, and they managed to keep me alive by doing CPR and calling an ambulance for me. So, now, at this point, my family had no idea that I was doing drugs at all. Like, the very worst they thought was, well, yeah, he's probably smoking weed, normal teenager shit. But yeah, the look on my grandfather's face when he walked into the emergency room and I was laid out on a stretcher, and obviously, like, he knew what was happening already. It was one of the worst feelings that you could possibly imagine. I just felt so much guilt and disappointment, and that's really the crazy thing about opioids is I felt so horrible. I felt like such a bad person after this. But the moment that I was out of the hospital and back home, I was trying to smoke anything that I could off of any old piece of foil that I had. Like, trying to get high, you know? And it has such a hold on you. It gets such a hold on you. So, anyway, moving on, I ended up going to rehab for about 2 months, and then I moved from where I was living in Ohio to Arizona, which is where I still currently live. Um, I was clean for a few months from like November until the beginning of January, no, September until January because I was in rehab as well. So anyway, I ended up meeting my now ex-girlfriend in January of 2018, and we had dated for a very long time, for almost 4.5 years. And that's another story for another time. Basically, she ended up cheating on me, and we split up. Um, Somehow we're still cool. There's no mutual bad feelings or anything. But anyway, aside from that, so I ended up relapsing in January, and it was on hydrocodone. And so nothing major. I didn't get like physically hooked on anything. I managed to just kind of stop that after, it was literally like a week after we got together, I had stopped again and managed to stay clean all the way up, give or take a couple of times. I did like an OP 30 here and there, like on a weekend or whatever, but it was never a regular, like more than once a month kind of thing for about a year. And then in 2019, I was working at a grocery store called Safeway, and one of my coworkers had told me that he can get, in his words, perk 30s for $10 a piece. And so I'm like, okay, that sounds good, whatever. I at this point was not overly familiar with pills, and I was not even aware that these pills that he was selling to me were not perk 30s. There were the Roxy 30s, or the inbox oxycodone pills. Anyway, I didn't know they were fake. He didn't tell me they were fake. I did one the first night that I got them. I snorted half of one because it had been a while since I've done an opioid, and so I wanted to make sure that, like, I don't snort this whole 30 and make myself sick or whatever the fuck. Half of this pill fucked me up so hard that in the middle of me trying to play a video game, I just started vomiting profusely, and the TV I was looking at turned into like 3 TV screens, and I couldn't focus, and my vision was just going like that, And so somehow I really didn't put 2 and 2 together that pill was fake. I just assumed that my opioid tolerance had completely zeroed out. Like, this is just how it is. I'm getting really fucked up again. So I started buying these pills pretty regularly, once every few days. And I would do them at work, because I have, like, kind of back problems. Nothing major, but, it was helping. It was helping my back pain. And so I told myself, this is helping me get my job done, this is not a bad thing, type shit. And eventually my coworker, after a couple of weeks, had told me, hey, there's fentanyl in those, right? Fuck no, I didn't know that. So he tells me this, and me being an ex-heroin addict, I did not get spooked off of it because of that. I'd done fentanyl before. That fentanyl was showing up in everybody's dope in 2017. Like, it was already a problem. So I was experienced with it, and it didn't scare me away from it. In fact, all it told me in my head was, I bet you I could smoke one of these pills and it'll hit like heroin. So what did I do? I did exactly that. I was right. I was right, and I continued doing these pills for another 5 or so months, and was full-blown physically dependent on them, like dope sick hours after not doing it type shit. Just terrible. My girlfriend at the time ended up finding out, and actually stayed with me, stuck by me through all this, and I ended up kicking it cold turkey. So I stayed clean for another 4 or 5 months. I relapsed one time in October, and then stayed off shit again, and ended up getting an apartment at the end of 2020. And I had one of my friends move in with me who had also had his own issues with the 30s and got clean. And basically, both of us being our fucking, dope head selves, um, we schemed up a way to get some. Both of us relapsed and started each other's issues again. And I kept doing the pills all the way up until my 21st birthday in June of 2021, where I finally got clean after ODing a second time. This overdose was on a combination of fentanyl, Xanax, and cocaine. And my theory as to what happened was because we were doing lines of coke all night. We finally stopped. I think what happened was the cocaine wore off, and all the fentanyl that I had done in combination with the Xanax that was already in my system took over at that point, and the cocaine was no longer stimulating me enough to keep me alive. And so I fell out in front of both my roommates and my girlfriend, and ended up going to the hospital again, and all the same shit that I had been through before, and got out, got clean again, and then fucked up again and started doing kratom. Like, this is gonna be probably the most ridiculous sounding part of all of this, and it was a mistake that I made, but I was so physically dependent on kratom after like a year of being on it that I decided I needed to get on Suboxone to get off the kratom. This was a mistake. Okay? If anybody out there is thinking about doing that, I promise you're gonna have a much better time just kicking the kratom than you ever would trying to kick fucking Suboxone. Okay? Shit is not... This is not fun. But anyway, so I get on Suboxone, right? I'm clean this whole time. Clean. On subs, but clean. And stayed clean all the motherfucking way up until about 2 months ago, right? So here we are. It's like May of 2023 now, right? That same friend that I had living in my apartment with me, I hit him up one day. We hung out, and I relapsed with him. Okay? I was still on Suboxone, but realized pretty quickly that you could break through sub real easy with fentanyl. Like, you could still get high. It's not an issue. And you won't go into precipitated withdrawal as long as you still have some buprenorphine on your receptors from the Suboxone. So, I just started more and more often doing both. And eventually got to the point where I ran out of Suboxone, and I didn't want to go to my doctors because if they drug test me, they're going to see that obviously I relapsed and kick me out of the program. So instead, I just made the full switch back over to fentanyl. And it was horrible. Whatever they're putting in these pills now is different. It's so much harder to kick. And I almost guarantee you that like half these pills had fucking xylazine in them, which, if you don't know, that is a horse tranquilizer that is just absolutely terrible for you. Like, they're cutting a lot of dope with it. It's so bad for you. But anyway, so another month and a half or so goes by, right? So I'm back at the point where I'm smoking blues every single day, like 6 a day again. Very rapidly built my tolerance back up. And I decided I can't do this anymore. I have to call a methadone clinic and get my shit sorted out. So I call a methadone clinic. Unfortunately, they can't get me in, obviously, same day. It's gonna take a couple days for them to get me in for my induction appointment. So I had just ran out of pills that morning that I called them. So I knew from that moment until 2 days later, I was gonna be going through fucking hell trying to just make it through. Just make it through. And I went through it. The withdrawals were worse than they have ever been. And I don't know if it is because, like I said, they're putting different shit in these pills now, or if it is a case of like every time you kick it gets harder and harder. I don't know, but it was brutal, absolutely miserable, having hallucinations, fucking hot flashes, cold sweats, my whole body hurt like fuck, and just the very action of sitting upright and moving made it feel like I was going to just drop. I was addicted to Xanax for a while as well, a couple years ago. And if you've ever went through benzo withdrawal, you'll probably understand what I mean when I say you feel like you're on the verge of having a seizure the entire time. It's just this very, you feel like almost like you're dreaming, kind of, but like I don't know how to put it. Like the veil between you being conscious and you falling out and fucking just seizing up is like super thin. And it feels like you're just pressing against that veil over and over again, pushing closer and closer to that seizure territory. That is exactly how it felt coming off of these fucking blues this time, with every characteristic side effect of opioid withdrawal on top of it. And just a few other really, really weird side effects since then. But anyway, I did it. I kicked that shit, got off of it, managed to go to my methadone clinic, and it took about a week for them to finally like stabilize me on the methadone before I wasn't withdrawing anymore. And so I've been stable on it for almost a month now, and that's going well. You know, I haven't been fucking around with Fent anymore, nor do I plan to. And basically, yeah. There's a lot of in between that I will discuss in other videos. Actually, break down the different stories, and probably take the time to come up with a script for a video like this. That way, I'm not just trying to go in chronological order by memory and tell you all this shit. But anyway, one thing that I wanted to get to in this video, and this is really, really why I wanted to make this video. So I now have some pretty, I don't want to say it's super severe, because it really isn't. Like, it's something. It's something, alright. I have some permanent health problems. Now, I overdosed 3 different times on fentanyl in my life. I have done every drug you could think of. Like, lots of issues. And now, the other day, okay, I was hanging out with my roommate, and I noticed that my legs went numb. Like, I couldn't feel my legs. And slowly that kind of progressed into more parts of my body and not being able to feel them. And then I put 2 and 2 together and realized, like, holy shit, my heart is pounding, but like the rate, so it's beating really fast, but I can barely feel it, is what's going on, right? My whole body goes numb, and it feels like the air around me is like hot. Like everything like blowing on me is just like fire air. And this happened like for like hours. This went on for hours and hours and hours. and eventually I just had to go to sleep. Like, I didn't know how to get rid of it. It was fucked. So it turns out that from my past opioid use and other substance use, and particularly overdosing, I have brain damage that is causing some sort of peripheral polyneuropathy, and I'm kind of worried that it's gonna lead to like some sort of autonomic neuropathy or something like that. Basically, my bodily functions, like my heart beating, my blood pressure, things like that, can't regulate itself correctly, and ultimately that could lead to my heart just stopping. And so, yeah. It's pretty fucked. And all of that is from brain damage, actually, from lack of oxygen when I overdosed, and then probably exacerbated further by just all the various times that I've used these substances and fucked myself up. But yeah, basically, that's all. Um, I just wanted to kind of give a brief rundown of, I guess, my substance use, and there's obviously a lot more to this whole story. I just wanted to give like major key events, things that happened timeline wise, and yeah, so that you guys can kind of understand just a little bit more about me, my past, and things that I've been through in my life. And hopefully, maybe one day I can, grow this channel, and these stories and my experiences that I have been through will help other people out there maybe not make the same mistakes that I did. Or shit, if you're, struggling with fentanyl and you never attempted to get on, MAT, get on methadone treatment or whatever, and these videos, help you make that decision, then great. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But that's really all. I know this video is a clusterfuck. It's all over the place. I'm very scatterbrained. I have brain damage from drug use, guys. but no, seriously. That's all. Yeah, if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know. I'm probably still going to be posting more content like this anyway, because there's a lot of stuff that I would just like to talk about. So, yeah. With that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Don't smoke fentanyl. It's not good for you. Don't shoot fentanyl. Even worse for you. Fucking opioids. They're very, very insidious. They'll sneak up on you, they'll take over your life, and they'll fuck you. So, just be careful, guys. Don't let the drugs fuck you.